Welcome to the Maps and Analysis tutorial. You can access the Maps and Analysis page by clicking on the Maps and Analysis tab on the top bar in Contour. To switch between farms, you can use the Farm Picker tool, which is on the right hand side on the top bar, and select which farm that you choose to view at that time. To view imagery of different types in Maps and Analysis, please click on the Select Imagery drop-down on the left-hand side, where you will see it's defaulted to no imagery, which is the Google Earth background you can currently see. Imagery is split into two subcategories. We have crop monitoring, which applies to everything for above ground growth, such as satellite imagery and yield mapping. And we have soil monitoring, which contains data such as EC mapping, soil brightness data if you have it, and soil analysis if you've had samples taken. Today we're going to look at navigation around Maps and Analysis and focus mainly on the soil monitoring. In later episodes we shall cover off satellite imagery and yield mapping separately. So today we're going to look at some soil scan maps. I have EC maps in this account because this is how we zoned this farm, and if I come across from soil scan I can see the different attributes I have within that tab. So we're going to look at soil scan shallow. So if I click on here, it will now generate that layer on the contour screen, and at this point you can start zooming in, dragging the map as you would any other mapping module. If I hover over a field and click on it, I get a pop-up which shows that there's further information stored on this field. So we can see here the name, the area, when the soil was last tested, and then what the previous cropping was for the past 3 years. If I click on View Full Record, this takes me in another layer where I can start drilling into the different data that's stored against here. Currently, we have soil analysis and the Cranfield or James Hutton data for that field. There's also a cropping history tab at the bottom, which will get more information in it as we develop the platform. If I wish to view the soil analysis for different zones, I can click on the zone here, but if this was a whole field, therefore not zoned for precision, it would just be one result for that field. To exit out, hit the X. I can then choose to look at soil analysis. So in the same way with the soil scan data, I can click in here and then my drop down gives me the nutrients that we are available to display. Going forward, all soil analysis will be found within Contour, and we will have maps for things such as soil texture, organic matter and the likes. So we're going to look at phosphate, so I click on the P map, and this will bring up my phosphate map for this farm. If I wish to view this data alongside another layer, I can simply click on the view icon at the top, and this gives me the option to either have 2 or 4 views. I would recommend using 2 views on laptops where you have smaller screens, and using 4 views where you have a desktop scenario where you'll have a larger screen. It just makes seeing data a lot easier. So we're going to click this onto 2 views, and what you'll see is it will replicate on the right hand side of the screen the farm and fields that I'm looking at on this side. The left hand side screen then becomes the master, so anything that I do on the left hand side, such as dragging the map or zooming to a particular area of interest, is replicated on the right hand map. As I said, I can compare different data sets at this point. So for example, I could look at satellite imagery, yield maps, or perhaps I'd like to look at my scan map versus my nutrition map. This is a great way to start layering up data and comparing what you know of a field to what the data says. At this point, I can then add another layer of data in, which is looking at field observations. So observations are something that's made on the Contour mobile app, of which there'll be a video coming shortly. And These observations are either made by growers, farm staff, account managers or agronomists, but it's a great place to share data around fields between different parties that are interested. As you can see, this farm has lots of observations, so we might want to filter those observations out to give a better level of detail. So here I have my observation types, which is pest, weed, disease or other, and I can uncheck these and just leave the ones that I want to look at. I also have the ability to filter the timeline of observations. This will be changing to feature a calendar date range picker, but I can certainly look at what was done over all time in the last week and the last month. If I click on an observation, I will then be shown all the data that's attributed to that observation. So you can see, once I've clicked on it on the right hand side, we've got a polygon on here, that the agronomist has marked out. We can see what the observation type is, which field it was, when it was left. We have a GPS coordinate there if you'd like to investigate further, the area of the polygon, and if there was any pictures attached to that, they would be included in here now as well.